today's topic is what is virtual machine scale set. Okay, so you know how to deploy a virtual machine, right? So suppose you're just working in a, suppose you want to install, means for example you already some of the instances working by yourself, right? Sometimes by default, for example, if your instances worked up to 50%, imagine it has been worked up to 50%. Okay, so what happens is that you need to update. That means you have to create a virtual machine as a default one. So that default virtual machine will be created by whom, or instance will be created by whom? By the provider. Okay, for example, I'm working in a I just started to work in a company. Okay, so I'm just working in a project. So instead of creating new instances, I just want to set up a scale set. So what happens is that instead of creating new instances, I'll select a virtual machine scale set. So what happens is that if suppose if that virtual machine is connected, if the virtual machine is used up to 50% or 70%, means automatically instance will be created by whom? By the provider. There are two types. One is custom and one is manual. Okay, custom means what? You have to maintain everything, so you have to set up that percentage and everything. Manual means what? The provider will be maintaining everything. So provider will be creating some particular percentage, and they'll be creating the instance and everything. Okay, and for example, you can create up to 100 or thousands or anything, but while creating, means what happens means according to the usage, what happens, the bills also will be increased. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is we'll create a first virtual machine scale set. Okay, first we'll create a default one, and we'll try to create it, means we'll try to change the default one into custom one. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'll create a, you can see, I'm just searching for the virtual machine. You can see virtual machine scale set away. So when you click virtual machine scale set, we have not created any virtual machine scale set or anything right now. So we'll click towards the create option. So you can see number of options will be there, basics and everything. Okay, so from here you have to maintain some of the things only. Okay, so you can see already basic is there, right? So when you click towards the basic, you can see subscription is what? Azure subscription, that is pay as you go. So next I need to create what? A resource group. So I'll create a resource group. Okay, so when you create a resource group, what I'm going to do is, you can see, okay, when you create a resource group, you can see VM scale set name. You have to give a particular name for that. Okay, so I am giving a VM scale set as a name. Next you can see what? A particular region, and you can see availability zone is none. And you can see when you go down, you can see mode option is there, right? So inside this mode you can see flexible and uniform. Okay, so you can see flexible and uniform over here. So the main difference between this flexible and uniform means, in flexible means what? It is easy to use. There is no, there won't be any restrictions or anything. Uniform means what? There will be some kinds of restrictions and everything. So in order to give a restriction, we'll give what? Uniform means no. In order to give restriction, we'll give what? Flexible. There should not be any restrictions or anything. So we'll use what? Flexible itself. Okay. So after that, you can see security type over here, right? So you can see security type. So security type is what? Trusted on virtual machine. Okay, and you can see scaling mode over here, right? In this scaling mode, you can see number of options is there, right? So first one is manually update the capacity is there, auto scaling is there, no scaling, profile is there. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm clicking towards the manually update the capacity. Okay, that means how many instances will be created right now? Two, right? Instead of creating two, I'll do one. Okay, and main thing that you guys are using free try, right? So in free try there is only 3 IP can be allocated.
3 IP.
Okay, yeah, only 3 public IP can allocate it.
Last time you said 2 only.
No, 3.
Last time you said 2.
No, I said 3.
2 you said, yeah.
I said 2, okay, there will be 3, okay. So more than 3, it can't be converted. For example, if it is in pay as you go, you can convert by, because we are paying the payment and everything. But in free trial, there will be only 3. Okay, so right now to get an output, I'm using what? 1. Instead of creating 2, I'll create 1. Okay, and you can see the images here. Okay, so in Ubuntu, you can see while if you want the output, means in Ubuntu we have to work lots of things and everything. Okay, so in order to use Ubuntu, we'll use what? Windows. Okay, so why? Because in Windows I'm going to host a web host. I'm giving a stress for that. Okay, so what happens when I'm giving a stress, you can see an automatically instance will be created. Okay, so I'm giving what? A Windows Server 2022 data center Azure edition hot patch. Okay, this is a server. And you can see right now the size is 1 GB. So I'll change this 1 GB into 3.5. Okay, after changing that, you can see username, right? So I'll give cloud institution the password. Okay, done. Next one, there will be a licensing. For you guys, there won't be any licensing. Why? Because you guys are using free trial. I'm using a pay as you go, so I have to use this licensing. Okay, so next, rest of the things like the sport, this networking, everything will be maintained by whom? By the provider. So we don't want to do anything. So we'll click towards the review plus create, and we'll try to create a new virtual machine scale set. This virtual machine scale set will be connected in where? Inside the virtual machine. Okay. So for example, if the virtual machine starts to work, what happens? If we're going to give some of the pressure or stress inside that, what happens? An automatically instance will be created. Okay, so right now by default the provider will be setting up 70%. Okay, so I'll show you right now. That means, for example, I'm going to means for example there is scale up and scale down will be there. Right. Suppose if I'm giving 10% or if I'm giving 5%, to get an output, I'm showing like this way. In a company, you won't give any 5% or anything. In a company, when you go, you will be giving 75, 80% and everything. To get that, I'm just showing like this way. But in default, the provider will be setting up to 70%. Okay. So when I'm giving, so instead of giving 70%, I'll use 5% and 4% for scale up and scale down. Okay, after this is connected. This is connected. First it was like what? Default one. That default one has been changed into which one? Changed into what? Customized one. Right. So this, after customizing this one, they have to connect towards a virtual machine. So inside this virtual machine, I'll use RDP. RDP means what? Remote Desktop Protocol. This name and everything should be what you have to learn. RDP stands for Remote Desktop Connection. You know what is the full form of RDC? What was the full form of RDC? I showed this, right?
Remote Desktop Connectivity.
Connection.
Correction.
Okay, Remote Desktop Connection. Okay. So after enabling this RDP, you forgot that HTTP also. The Windows.
I got that transfer.
Huh?
HTTP.
Not Linux, yeah. In this Windows. Okay. So after creating this RDP, what I'll do is I'll enable HTTP also. Okay. So what happens is that I'll try to push what? Inside a stress over here. I'll try to put stress. So what happens when I'm giving a stress means the automatically it started to work, right? So the graph will be going up. So the instance will be created one by one. Suppose if I'm not going to use, suppose I've deleted some of the instances, what happens? The instance will be down. This is called as scale up and scale down. So if you want to create a scale up and scale down, you have to use VM scale.
Simply that traffic is
not traffic. If you want to, for example, when you go to a company, You won't create the instance according to each and every users. For example, you have got a, imagine you have got a project. Okay, so you have to deploy many things. Okay, instead of creating one, what you'll do, you can use what scale, virtual machine scale set. So what happens is that an automatically instance will be created. For example, you're giving a particular size, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're giving a particular size, what?
3.5.
Okay, 3.5 for the Windows. So what happens if it is becoming a maximum means what we'll do? Have to create another instance. So to avoid that, you can use what? Virtual machine scale set.
Okay.
So what happens if you're going to stress, if you're going to push that stress, what happens? An automatically instance will be created by
Another one.
But you have to set up that also. So for example, minimum you're giving 1. Okay. So for example, maximum you can give 100,000 and everything.
Okay.
So according to usage, what happens? It will be created. Suppose if I'm giving maximum 10. I'm giving maximum 10 only means 10 instance will be created. Only 10 instance.
With the size of 3.5.
With the size of 3.5, 10 instance only will be created. But it won't create a 10 instance before. According to the usage, it will be created. Suppose if I want to increase this instance, if I want to increase this maximum also, I can increase this. Okay.
Later.
Yeah, I can increase that also. But but right now I'm showing as an output, you can see that output and everything. Okay. So right now my deployment is over, right? Yeah. So I'll go back to my virtual machine scale set. So when you go back to the virtual machine scale set, you can see an option called availability plus scaling. You can see, right? Yeah. Availability plus scaling. So you can see what? Scaling option. So when you click towards the scaling option, you can see right now it is in where? In manual. That is created by whom? Provider. I'm just going to do customize. So I'll click towards the customize. So when you go to the customize, you can see number of instances created. 1. And if you want to change that metrics means you, for example, get like giving percentage. Okay. So I just want to change this into scale based on metrics. So when I'm changing this metrics, you can see instance limit. Yeah. I'm giving minimum 1. I'm giving maximum 10. And default instance is 1. I'm creating only 1, right? And I just want to give particular percentage. I just want to give a particular metrics percentage and everything. To give that, you can see add rule. Right. So when you click add rule, what you can see is right now the instance is set up by the provider, right? Yeah. So the instance is given, means the metrics is given like what? 70% threshold. I just want to change into 5. I'll change into 5. Okay. So I'll change into 5. So while giving, this is scale up. Okay. So while scale up, you have to maintain some of the things. That is, when you go down, you can see it is greater than. When you're giving scale up means it should be greater than. If you're giving lower, if you're giving lesser than means, if you're giving decrease, scale down means it should be lesser than. So you can see right now I'm just giving only scale up, right? So I'll use only scale up. So I'll use greater than. And when you go down, you can see
action.
No, the portal is changed. Okay, you can see in action, right? So increase count by. Okay, suppose if it is decrease means it will be decrease count by. Suppose for example, that means if I'm giving 1 means and if I'm giving 1 means and automatically one instance will be created. Okay, after the usage, if it is using some of the if you're going to use a if you're going to use a virtual machine, and if you want to create that virtual machine as a default 1 by 1 means you have to give 1. Suppose if I'm giving 2, automatically 2 instances will be connected. After this usages means after first instance is completed, only second instance will be started. Okay, we don't want like that way. Instead of doing that, what happens? The payment also will be reflected. Why? Because we are creating 2 instances. So instead of that, we'll give what?
1.
Okay. Why? Because I just want to. In a company, they'll tell you how to do and everything. They'll tell you like you have to create this instance in 2 or 3. According to that, you'll create. But right now, I just want to show the output, right? So I'll use as what? Increase instance count 1. I click add. So what happens? I've created a scale up. You can see arrow mark. This scale up, right? And you can see I just want to create a scale down also. So I'll click what? Add rule. So instead of giving 70, this is also 70. So instead of giving 70, I'll give 4. And you can see greater than. I'll do it as lesser than. Less than. And you can see increase count by. Instead of increase, I'll give decrease count by. Done. I'll click add. So this default one I have changed into customized one, and this customized one will be attached in where? Inside the virtual machine. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll click save over here. Okay, so you can see updating autoscale configuration, right? So after this is updated, what we'll do is we'll try to create a virtual machine. Just wait. So my job is done, right? Virtual machine in virtual machine scales it and my job is done. So I'll go back to my, I'll just duplicate and I'll try to create a virtual machine. Okay, so right now, okay, before that, I've given only one drive. Okay, so I just want to see how many instances created right now. Okay, to do that I've just gone back to my virtual machine scale set. So in that you can see instance over there. So when you click instance, you can see one is running and another one is created. So when I started to, means when I attach that this, when I attach this virtual machine scale set towards the virtual machine, what will happen? It will be running. Right, why? Because I've given only less, means I've given 5% and 4%. That's why. To get that output. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my virtual machine. So you know how to create a virtual machine, right? So nothing, instead of creating a virtual machine, we'll attach this virtual machine with virtual machine scale sets. Okay, so I'll attach, I'm giving particular VM1 and you can see, okay, so okay, so image you have to change into
24, 21.
No, Windows.
Okay.
And you can see size, right? So it is 3.5 and I need to change, means I need to give that virtual machine scale set, right? So I need to add, so you can see availability option. So in this availability option you can see virtual machine scale set. Done. So I need to attach that. So my virtual machine scale set name was VM scale set, right? So I'll attach. Done. Again what? I'll go down, I'll add my password and I'll attach my username and password, right? I'll go down. I need to host a web host, right? Either I can select from here, either I can select from where. I need to enable, imagine I have created only RDP. Again I need to attach HTTP. Correct, NSD. That means I need to attach, okay, HTTP. So what you will do, with the help of NSD also you can connect, right? So I'll connect, means I'll add HTTP and I'll enable this licensing and I'll go to preview plus create. So instead of using a default, if you want to create a customize a VNet also, it is also possible. You can add, you can attach that also. Okay, so right now I'm just using default one only. Okay, then I'll click create. Okay, so what happens, this virtual machine starts to work. So when it starts to work, means what? Some kinds of reflection will be happening where? Inside the virtual machine scale set. That means inside the scale set also. So I'll try to give stress right now. Okay, so once it's done, you can see Okay, I've deployed, right? So I'm just giving one stress right now. So I'll go back to the code to resource, and right now I just want to connect my windows, right? So I'll click connect, connect. So when you click connect, connect, what option or what you can see is you can see download IP, download RDP file. So you have to download RDP file. So this RDP file will be downloaded. These recordings I have shared in that drive. Okay. So you have to open. You have gone through that. This one. You know how to host this RDP. Means you know how to host that web host inside RDP.
No.
No. Okay. You also go through that. You having that credential, right? Drive.
Yeah.
You have to go through that. I've already taken the topic. Okay. So we'll connect. Okay. Hmm? No. Starting. I just taught her that web hosting. You guys were not there. And I've given that PDF also. How to create and everything. Okay. So after this download means after this connecting is finished, you can see a particular Windows server is connected. This is how you connect your RDP or window server. Okay. So once it's done, what you have to do is with the help of server manager will be there. Okay. Inside that server manager, you will be installing or you will be updating what this web host. So how to install web host in Linux? What is the method?
In Linux. We will go to command prompt.
Then step.
Starting.
SSH
username.
Okay, everything is done. Then next, how to install?
Apt
Install Apache. Inside that we are using Apache 2, right? Inside this Windows we'll be using IIS, Internet Information Service. That is a server we are going to use. Okay. So you can see what this is a particular Windows server, right? So after this is done, what you'll do is you can see network is there. So that is a default one. We'll click it as yes. So you can see server manager will be open as a default. Okay. So once it's done, what we are going to do is we'll open, means after it's open, we have to wait for some time. Why? Because it is in processing stage. You can see. Okay. So you have to close this one. We don't want this one. So we'll close this one. And you can see it is processing stage. It is running over here, right? So after this is completed, you can see some of the changes in theme and everything. Okay. So you have to wait. Okay, you can see files and storage services added, and so now it's completed. Okay, you can see some of the changes. Instead of 2, it has been changed into 3. So you can see some of the changes, right? So we'll click towards where add roles and features. So when you click add roles and features, you have to click what next option. So if you're getting time, you can read this and everything. So I'm just skipping. Just click next. You have to select what role based, same thing. Next. What happened?
Nothing.
Tell.
You said that if you have time, you can read.
Okay, next. You have to click next. Okay. From here, what you have to select is web server IS. You can see what I can zoom it. That's why. Okay. You can see web server IS.
Yes.
IS full form is Internet Information Service. So when you enable, you can see a default page will be open. So you have to click what? Add features. Done. Then you have to click next. Next, install. Done. Only this have to be maintained. Rest of the things will be done by whom? By the provider. So what happens after this installation is done? We'll copy that public IP. You know how to copy that public IP, and we'll add a new tab and we'll paste it. Okay. So you can see right now it started, right? It is started inside where? Inside the VM1. So I'll split it. Okay. So you guys started to work, means you started the documentation, which you started disk also. You started. What about you? You started. What about you? Finished. So, what about you? Anas, you finished? Started. Uh, who can do this one? So you are doing disk, right? So you have already finished. Do that disk also. Okay, you just complete that disk. You complete this one. Okay, you understood, right? Once you complete it means you just update. Okay, that's good. Okay, right now when you keep your cursor, you can see 100%. That means it's done. So I'll go back to my portal. Okay, so now when you go back to my portal, you can see what public AB. If it is not working in mute, means if it is not working here, means what is the next option? You have to incognito window, right? So I'll open new incognito window and I try to paste it. So you can see internet information service. It is done by whom? By the provider. So if you want to customize this also, you can see in that video I have customized. Okay, so when you go through that, you can understand that. So right now I've given a stress, right? So what I'm going to do, I just want to check whether it is increased or not. So I'll go back to my portal. So this is my virtual machine skill set, right? So I'll try to refresh. So how many instances created?
4.
Before it was 1.
Yeah.
1 is creating. Right now 4 instances created. Another one is creating. Okay. So this is how you create a virtual machine scale set. According to your usage, the instance will be created. But you have given 10 instance only. For that means only 10 instance will be created. If you want to increase means you update it. That's all. Okay. You got an idea?
Recording?
No, it's recording.
No, can you stop the recording?
No, I just want to show you one thing. Okay, so I'll show you one thing. It's a real time one thing. I've already given a stress right inside that Windows. I just want to see it is whether it's working or not. Okay, so I'll go back to my Windows server. Okay, so from here when you search for the task manager, when you search for the task manager, you can see task manager over here. You can see, right?
Yeah.
So when you click towards the task manager, you can see server manager. So when you click server manager, wait.
More.
Okay, so you can see right now the CPU is in how much? 13, 14 and everything. And you can see memory is 59%. So it started to stress. There is a stress is happening. right? So according to this stress, what happens? The instance will be created automatically, right? So you can see when you see task manager, you can see that stress and everything. You can see that percentage and everything. Okay.
We just given the limit of 10 now. Like, what if the all 10 instances are created? What will happen? Like,
it will be there itself. If it is, if you're creating 10 instance means it will be running itself. If you don't want, you can delete it. If there is no usage means you can delete it according to usage. That's all. Okay, understood? Any doubts?
while practicing, we will ask.
Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah.